All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to start the April 29th, 2014 Planning Board meeting. It's being recorded by our Director, Robert McDonald, and for LCAP by Don Mackey. Is there anybody else here recording it? And if so, what affiliation? All right, seeing none, we're going to get underway. We're going to kind of pick up where we left off. We've had a couple intermissions, if you will, with the gas station at Shaker Road and Chestnut Street. Latest updates, we had a roundtable a couple weeks ago. I think there's been another meeting today with some changes. So I'm going to let the applicant discuss those changes, and then we'll move forward.
Okay, good.
We have some things to read in the record.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before I get ahead of myself.
Okay.
Mr. Richards, the floor is yours.
Everyone get comfortable. This is a letter from Jim Martin of Robinson and Donovan. Dear Mr. Parent, thank you for your email of April 3rd, 2014 concerning the above captioned matter. Following the last roundtable, I convened a conference call with our engineers to discuss the issues identified at the roundtable. The issues recorded in my notes are consistent with topics you set forth in your email to me. Below are my client's responses to the remaining site design issues following the additional due diligence performed by our engineers. Number one, our engineers specifically analyzed the potential impacts and ramifications of a realignment of the driveway along Shaker Road. They have concluded that the proposed current location is the optional location given the elevations that exist, as well as the impact on the neighbors and overall negative impact on the safety of the site as a result of changes in the traffic flow and patterns. With respect to the relocation of the driveway in Chestnut Street, our engineers have also concluded that the site distance concerns are less troublesome than Shaker Road, but nonetheless there are elevation issues that are deterrent to moving the current proposed driveway. Also, the impact on parking and traffic flow mitigate against moving the driveway any further west on Shaker Road. The applicant and proposed, number two, the applicant and proposed operator are willing to underwrite the cost and expense of the installation of on-site signage at the Chestnut Street driveway as well as the driveway rumble strips. In addition, they will agree to install warning lights on Chestnut Street, which will alert vehicle operators traveling both east and west of the trail road proposed crossing. Thank you for sending us the information on the type of warning lights you recommended. Number three, the applicant and proposed operator are willing to install either a textured concrete or cobblestone demarcation area between the exit and the entrance driveway on Chestnut Street. Number four, Chambers is willing to make a one-time contribution to a designated town account for further intersection improvements at Shaker Road and Chestnut in the amount of $25,000. Number five, the developer, L.E. Bleacher, has indicated that it will be willing to cooperate with the town with respect to the potential future easement or land acquisition in the event that future geometric improvements are necessary. However, neither the applicant nor the future owner is in a position to make a firm commitment with respect to future easements or takings, as they need to reserve the right to study any such proposals before making firm commitment. Number six, the applicant and L.E. Bleacher are willing to agree to planning limitations in order to address any site concerns, and are also willing to agree to limitations on snowbank accumulation at each entranceway, and in particular the Shaker Road entranceway. I believe this addresses all of the issues that were raised at the roundtable meeting and in your email to me of April 3rd, 2014. If you would like to convene a meeting or conference call to further discuss any of these issues prior to the planning board meeting on April 15th, we would be more than willing to participate in said meeting or conference call, which has already come and gone. Finally, Mr. Smith has made the necessary changes to the drainage plan and has obtained the results of soil samples. He will provide the test results to you, but I have been advised that the soil conditions do not have a significant adverse effect on the current drainage plan, nor should they have any effect on future construction of the site. The developer intends to bring full fill into the site. Your preliminary discussion with the design engineer indicated that you would want unsuitable existing fill material removed from beneath the proposed stormwater recharge system. We have done a grading exercise to demonstrate that this material can be moved to the landscape area and suitably graded. Further geotechnical investigations for the building foundation could possibly review that material may need to be removed. All parties understand that if the fill is to be removed from the site, a special permit will be necessary. To reiterate, we understand that if at some point in the future a determination is made that fill must be removed from the site, the applicant or developer will file the necessary application for appropriate special permit. We look forward to a mutually agreeable resolution to the outstanding issues so that the project and site plan can be approved by the planning board in order to allow construction to commence as soon as practical. Very truly yours, James Martin. Thank you very much. Also. Okay, to the East Long Meadow Planning Board, Robin McDonald, Town Planner, from Robert Parent PE, regarding April 24th, 2014 revised submission, proposed Chalmers Convenience Store gas station development. The Department of Public Works has reviewed the latest set of plans, last revised April 24th, 2014. The traffic studies, most recently dated March 18th, 24. Stormwater calculations, last revised March 25th, 24. Correspondence from James F. Martin, Esquire, counsel for the applicant, to Robert Perrin, P.E., dated April 10th, 2014, and supporting information submitted by the applicant for the proposed convenience store gas station development on the northwest side of the Shaker Road, Chestnut Street intersection. We are pleased to advise the planning board that the majority of our previous traffic-related comments have been addressed through these revised documents. The following paragraph summarizes the commitments made by the applicant as well as a few outstanding issues that remain. Impact of increased traffic volume on the intersection capacity. To address this concern, the applicant has agreed to make a one-time $25,000 contribution to a designated town account for future intersection improvements to the Shaker Road and Chestnut Street intersection. This is an appropriate response to mitigate our concerns. We encourage the planning board to seek similar commitments from future applicants for projects that impact this intersection. Site distance impacts. The applicant has indirectly acknowledged that site distance on Shaker Road will be an issue. See the J. Martin Esquire letter reference above that identifies the Chestnut Street driveway as less troublesome than the Shaker Road driveway. However, the applicant has not quantified the issue as requested. The applicant has agreed to limit placing landscaping, signage, snow, etc. along Shaker Road and to remove snowbanks along Shaker Road to avoid making existing site distance issues worse. Given the unique topography of the site and the adjoining intersection, as well as the location of the existing buildings on the adjoining parcels, there is little else that the applicant can reasonably do to improve the situation. However, the planning board should be aware that if the project is approved to avoid collisions, drivers approaching the project from the north may need to begin slowing down before they can see a vehicle exiting the Shaker Road driveway. In addition, vehicle operators exiting the project will need to carefully judge when to accelerate on the Shaker Road, and in some cases may need to rapidly brake or accelerate across the road to get out of the way of oncoming traffic. Vehicle access management impacts. The application has reviewed the potential to realign the Shaker Road driveway with existing La Florentina driveway and the installation of a right-hand turn only exits, and concludes these changes would not enhance safety and would be detrimental to the operation of their facility. We accept the applicant's conclusions. Rail trail impacts. We previously expressed significant concerns regarding the potential for increased pedestrian and vehicle conflicts at the Redstone Rail Trail crossing. The applicant has agreed to install a pedestrian activated warning light at the crossing similar to the light installed at the Maple Street crossing, as well as rumble strips at the exit driveways. In addition, a stop sign is proposed at the exit. These improvements are reasonable efforts to mitigate the impact of the project and reduce concerns regarding the safety of the crossing. If approved, we recommend that the applicant be required to further consult with DPW relative to the rumble strip and signage details, since we believe improvements can be made to what is currently proposed. For an example, the rumble strip detail shown on the plans is customarily used on the shoulders of highways and may not be appropriate for this application. Overall traffic impacts. As previously noted, even with the mitigation measurements proposed by the applicant, there will still be negative traffic and proposed safety impacts that result from the proposed project. However, we recognize that the planning board must balance these negative impacts against the positive community and individual benefits that may result from the project. Looking ahead, it is very likely that this property in the vicinity of the intersection will continue to be developed or redeveloped, and as this occurs, we encourage the planning board to continue seeking opportunities to improve the safety and functionality of the intersection. Historic fill below stormwater facilities. The stormwater report notes that significant portions of the site have been filled with material of unknown quality, and the design of the stormwater system has been based on drainage characteristics of the underlying material. This applicant has not yet determined if this fill material will be needed to be removed from the site, which would trigger additional permitting requirements, or if these materials could be used elsewhere on the site. Regardless of the determination, the applicant should be required to remove all fill material from beneath and within 10 feet of the proposed stormwater infiltration facilities and replace this with fill with selected sand and gravel materials to ensure the proper performance of these facilities. In addition, all fill materials should be removed from below proposed utility lines and replaced with selected material. Drainage at the southwest corner of the site. The applicant has made an attempt to address comments from the previous roundtable by making some minor changes to the grading near the rail trail. In order for these grading improvements to be fully effective in preventing standing water on or near the trail, the grading should contain some distance onto the rail trail property. We are willing to work with the applicant during construction and allow the applicant access to town property to make these minor changes to eliminate potential problems to the area.
This first page.
We don't need the first page, right? Okay,
It's
great.
basically,
Excellent. I like that. Site title entitled Site Location 275 Chestnut Street. And by the way, this is a notes from the East Long Meadow Police Department regarding the project. Applicant, well, we know the applicant, the owner, security system. Okay, security system exterior.
that was as of this date.
Oh, that's of February 22nd, 2014.
Right, they have not seen the new,
That's based on the old plan.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, great, excellent, thank you. Security system, exterior lighting, yes. Interior lighting, yes. Alarms, yes. Recommendations, yes. It is recommended exterior lighting be installed to reduce the potential for criminal activity and to assist patrol officers during overnight business checks. It is recommended any exterior lighting be installed to minimize the impacts of surrounding residential areas. Okay. It is recommended alarms be monitored by a central location with all calls directed to the police. Signage, yes. It is recommended any signs be installed so they do not impact the visibility of vehicle operations entering or exiting the site. It is recommended consideration should be given on any signs impact on the visibility at the intersection. General traffic study. A traffic study was submitted with this application. Location of entrance exits, Shaker Road on the west side at the address of Chestnut Street, and the north side at the Shaker north side at the address. Traffic volume increase, yes. Traffic control changes, yes. A review of the site determined there appears to be sufficient distance on Shaker Road for the proposed driveway to function without any significant problems. However, site distance to the north while exiting is restricted due to the crest in the roadway. It is recommended the site distance be maximized by the driveway as far north as possible. It is recommended a left turn only lane for southbound traffic be installed on Shaker Road to improve flow of traffic. The proposed driveway location on Chestnut Street is now located at a point more westerly than originally indicated, which allows for more maneuvering room for vehicles making a left-hand turn while exiting the site. It is recommended the driveway be located as far as possible in a westerly direction to maximize the distance from the intersection for vehicle stacking. It is recommended the proposed sidewalk connection to the bike path should connect at a point back from the roadway and behind the island with a ballard to minimize conflict adjacent to Chestnut Street. It is recommended the developer install solar-operated pedestrian crossing lights at the East Long Meadow Rail Trail that are consistent with those currently installed at Maple Street. These will improve the safety for pedestrian and bicycle traffic using the rail. It is recommended center lines be installed for both driveways and arrows applied to the pavement indicated lines for entering and exiting the site. It is recommended stop lines and stop signs be installed for exiting traffic on both driveways. It is recommended ballards and/or concrete vehicle stops be installed to protect the building and the proposed outside tables. Police services impact, it is estimated that there will be an increase in police responses, especially due to the proposed hours of operation. Additional recommendations or comments. It is recommended any planning should be located so as not to interfere with the vehicle operations visibility entering and exiting the site. Additionally, consideration should be given to visibility at the intersections. It is recommended consideration be given to the proposed potential for vehicle traffic to utilize the driveways at a site to circumvent traffic stop for the traffic light to access westbound flow on Chestnut Street and Shaker Road. Okay,
It's fine.
this does not need to be read? Okay, very good.
All right.
Ready?
All right, we discussed a lot of the stuff that was discussed at the roundtable meeting. So I'm going to let you guys take it from there, which is already just added, discussed before we open up the public, report comments.
Well, good evening. Tide's a tough act to follow.
Not really.
And I guess I should say, first of all, welcome back to everyone.
Thank you.
So, we've all persevered in getting here tonight, and we appreciate everyone's cooperation and patience, and including our clients and the developers, and appreciate the input from the various departments, including quite a bit of professional exchange of information and comments from Mr. Parent and his department. So just to refresh your recollections, we've had 2 roundtables. We've had 1 substantive meeting before you. We've had a couple of technical meetings in order to reopen the record and then continue this hearing. But all during that time, we've been working together collaboratively with the town to try and address the issues that were identified by your professional staff and by you folks at the hearing. And I just want to try and summarize those. As I say, I'm here tonight. I'm Jim Martin on behalf of Chalmers, represented by Drew Davis. And Jim Shields is here tonight on behalf of Belcher, with the Belcher team led by David Ryan. So specifically, the issues that were addressed, which are now reflected on the latest set of the plans. We were asked to note on the building the fact that this would have a sub-basement, so the square footage is clearly reflected, and the parking is calculated accordingly. Robin had pointed out last time that we were missing 1 parking space because of a dislocation. That has been added back in, so the parking calculation is accurate and the space is there. In terms of the overall design, we had lots of discussion about the Chestnut Street entrance and exit, and we, at Mr. Parent's request, had Steve, our traffic engineer, do site analysis and all the other things that he requested in order to try and identify what is the safest location for the Chestnut Street driveway, as well as the Shaker Road. But starting with the Chestnut Street, the location you see is the location that was determined to be the optimal location. To have additional safety measures in place, there's a stop sign posted there, and there are rumble strips posted there, or will be will be constructed there. And Mr. Parent's letter indicates that he wants to consult with us on the proper type of rumble strips so that get the maximum use of that. There was also a request for a divider at that driveway, and it would be some type of paver or concrete, and they have a cobblestone divider there, which both addresses Mr. Parent's concerns and the police department's concerns that there be a divider there. And the developer and future operator have agreed to, at their cost, install the solar-activated warning signs on the Chestnut Street that cover both directions, warning the people of the upcoming trail rail and the fact that pedestrians can activate them. We've extended the sidewalk from the trail rail all the way in. We have the bollards to protect the building. We're continuing to provide the outdoor pavilion for use for people. And we, I think, have addressed and analyzed all of those concerns, because I said at the opening, this project, we want to be as safe as we can given this site, because it's good for the town, and it's good for the owners, and it's good for the patrons, and good for the citizens. With respect to Shaker Road, we once again looked at the issues raised by Mr. Parent to our engineer, Steve, and Mark, who's here to answer questions about the site since he prepared the plans. Here again, we looked at how much distance you need given the elevations and what's the optimal location, and Steve's analysis determined that this was the optimal location, and Mr. Parent has opined on that as well in his letter. We were mindful of not moving the driveway too much further north to impact people who live across the street, and mindful of the fact that we didn't want traffic to back up immediately upon coming upon the property. And it's wide enough and the property is large enough that it can accommodate this. We also addressed by the layout any concern that this would be someone might go through this property in order to beat a light, and as commented again by Steve, given the speed bumps, given the rumble strips, given the layout of the pumps, it's unlikely that this would be determined or observed to be a quicker way to get through this facility than it would be to obey the traffic signals. We've had several observations made by professional engineers as to the intersection from extended periods of time, and those reports were submitted as well, and that's the basis for this current observation. And with regard to the challenges of this intersection, as I said, Chalmers has agreed to make a contribution to a dedicated fund for use of the town for site improvements at this intersection. And we think that's a good citizen, good neighbor gesture towards trying to benefit everyone at this intersection, so that the issues that have been raised can be studied and perhaps improved. We have incorporated into the plans the flashing pedestrian signs that Mr. Parent suggested are successful in another location in town, so we will use those. We have committed to keeping the landscaping, to a ground cover in the front, so that there's no site impairment, and also committed to not allowing snow to accumulate in snowbanks or piles at that intersection. So I'm hopeful and fairly confident that we have addressed the issues that have been raised by DPW, police, fire, planning board staff members, and the members of the planning board in their various comments. I will also say that Mr. Parent also asked us to do test borings, test pits. We did those test pits. Mark originally expected that the soil might be of a Class A soil. He had the soil samples analyzed by a licensed Massachusetts entity, and they turned out to be B, which is still quite good. He has made slight adjustments to the drainage based on the changing grade of the soil, and I'll let Mark explain that when he gives you a brief presentation on that. But all in all, still very suitable and very adequate soil for the use as we intend. As I said in my letter, which Mr. Richards read into the record. At this point, we understand that if we take fill off of the site, we have to get a special permit. It's just at this point, we can't tell you whether we're going to be taking fill off the site until, actually get into site work and grading and, what's suitable for where the location of the building is, and whether or not the fill can be used elsewhere on the site, because we're going to be bringing, I shouldn't say we, Belcher's going to be bringing in fill into the site because, it does drop off quite a bit in places, and they're going to want to elevate that at a point that will require fill to be brought in. So, unless anybody has any further questions for me at this point, I'm going to ask Mark to just review what he did from a technical standpoint.
Do you want to add anything before he starts? Okay.
Yep, Mark Smith with Benish. We're the engineers for this project. And sounds like these issues have been pretty well covered. I'll just kind of point them out on the plan. The current set reflects this rumble strip that's proposed on Chestnut Street. It's also labeled with this concrete paver divider. And so the detail sheet, there's a detail sheet in the set now, 5.3.1, that shows the detail for the rumble strip. It shows the paver detail for the divider, and it also shows the the flashing pedestrian sign that has been much talked about, and Steve may mention a little bit when he talks about the traffic. One other thing I guess I just want to mention is that our here it is, hit it on the back. Our site our rendering for the building, from a style standpoint, had shown dormers. The original application set did not, so we've updated the sheet seat or A2 in the set just to reflect that, just for the record. Regarding the soils, originally when we started this process, the intent was to do some confirming test pits at construction when we had equipment out there, but in response to the town engineer's comments, we went out with a backhoe, did test pits, did an infiltration test, and took soil samples. And the result was there was some fill material found, not particularly good material, which we've agreed to. We'll take, the underlying soils are good. They're that type B soil, and you need to classify your soils A, B, C, or D, because in Massachusetts, depending on your soil types, that governs how much you need to recharge. The drainage design very easily accommodated the change to type B. That was not an issue. We made a very small change to the outlet structure. It's not a layout, it's just the actual structure that releases the water had a change in its configuration. But I don't want to imply that anything we found out about the soils changed the layout. We didn't have to do any layout changes. As far as the unsuitable materials go, we did do that exercise. If we remove the material from underneath the galley system and also 10 feet beyond it, that volume of soil is not a problem to maintain on site. It's just we have a large green space area over here, and we can feather the soils out over there. And as Jim mentioned, if there's more soils beyond that, then we would get the special permit that's required. But right now, it looks like we should be able to handle them all on site. So, yeah, and regarding the drainage back here, it's very flat back here. The town engineer mentioned that, and yeah, we would have to work with them. It's a case where generally the water heads this way, but it's the kind of subtle grading and topography that doesn't really even show up on a topographic survey. You'd literally have to probably have a meeting on site and just to determine make sure the water is going to continue to move. That's his concern. He wants it to move without ponding, and that can be a matter of changing the grade. 4 or 6 inches is all you need to just make sure you don't have a little blockage when it's that flat. So that's something that we could work out in the field, because of course we'd want to accomplish that with the minimal disturbance. So we're happy to do that. So yeah, I guess that addresses kind of the where these things are, and I guess, Steve, if you wanted to address sort of the process we've gone through to get here.
Good evening, my name is Steve Allman. I'm a licensed engineer with Alfred Benish and Company as well. First, let me talk about relocating the drives and what we saw. We looked at moving this driveway this way and this driveway that way. Let's put this here. That has the grading on it. And what we found about relocating the driveways is that you'd have a steep driveway coming up here, and because of the grading here and the drainage facility, you'd have to put in an S-curve here. And what happens is that you put in the S-curves and everything else, you have problems getting trucks in and out without encroaching on, opposing traffic. So you ended up with a site circulation issue that became problematic at best, especially right through here. So that was one of the things we looked at. One of the reasons we said leave the driveways where they are. I went out and physically measured the site distance to the north from this driveway, and I measured a distance of 340 feet. That's from an eye height of 3.5 feet to an object height of 3.5 feet. 340 feet technically is adequate for the posted speed limit at the driveway. The posted speed limit at the driveway is 20 miles an hour. For 20 miles an hour, you need 225 feet. For 30 miles an hour, which is 10 miles over, you need 335. That said, we'll acknowledge that the speed limit changes right around here. Beyond that, it's posted at 35 at this point. For 35 miles an hour, you would need 390 feet. So you're right in the borderline there. It does meet, 340 feet should be sufficient for this driveway for people to get out. We have agreed to make sure there are no plantings in the way here, no snow being put there, so people will be able to get in and out of the drive safely, from what I can tell. And the signs here are the TAPCO signs, the same you have up at Maple Street, that we're going to put in, be identical to what's up there. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
Anybody?
I'm just making note, I do not have 5.3.1 in this set. So we're missing at least one page, I believe.
I think it's labeled 5.
Going to light through?
Yeah, it's 5.4. What was that,
With the
Jim?
rumble seat, the one that you were talking about, with the rumble seat.
5.4 has the risers and.
Yeah, I don't have that.
There should be an additional one there, yeah.
Yeah, this was not in the package.
Yeah.
No, it's not attached, but it's
Okay.
additional.
Fine. Just so, we at least have that somewhere on record.
It's in the big
It's
plans.
in the new, that's what
It's
we
in
were
the
trying
large
to figure out
plans,
tonight
Okay.
before the meeting, because everything
Yes,
was.
please.
Okay.
But yes,
The only other concern I would have at this point is I agree with the town engineer that you want to avoid ponding next to the rail trail. But I also note that there is a height of land, if you will, of a couple feet between that area, which is at 219, and the isolated wetland. And we want to be sure that we're not, that if you do end up directing the water a little bit faster by going through that 218 channel, that the isolated wetland is considered. Okay, and I think that's something that perhaps you may need to get back with conservation on if there is an impact on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I guess, would be, depending on which direction things go, we would certainly go back to conservation if it's warranted, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that won't be a problem.
okay. Because I can see where you may get extra flow down there and some ponding, and that may mean that you need to somehow get from there over to the isolated wetland where it ought to go, but we need to be careful how we do that so we don't negatively impact that wetland, either by silting it up or otherwise.
Yeah, and that's why I think you'd have to almost walk out there and look. It's pretty subtle topography, and we just have to work with that. But yeah, we have a wetlands expert on the project,
Okay.
and we'd probably bring him in for that discussion.
And we're willing to accept Mr. Parent's offer to work with the town on
Sure.
going onto town land to address those issues.
Great.
The actual shrub bed that's on Shaker Road at the northernmost point, how close is that to the actual road?
Looks like it's about 5 feet away or so, but that can be, this can be kept very, very low.
Right, I mean, that was one of my concerns, is even if you come up 2 feet with shrubs,
Yeah,
that limits your sight line to where,
yeah.
I mean, my thought would be if it could be moved back away from the road even 5 feet.
Oh, I'm
It
sorry.
looks like there's plenty of
Yeah,
room
you
to
can move it
move
back
it.
10 feet and you're still not into the steep part of the slope.
Exactly, and I'm just thinking, I mean, it gives you a little bit more sight line, any
Once
little
again-
bit helps.
Once again, Mr. Parent has offered, and we'll work with the town on that in terms of the location and the height, but we're committed to keep it at just above ground level to have it look attractive, but not to
Right.
impair any sight.
Anything else?
Not at the moment.
Sandro? Good. Mr. Richards?
So finish elevation at the road on Shaker Road, north of the entrance is 234, is that right? About 234?
This is, 234 right here.
Okay, so, and then, so if you're sitting at the driveway pulling out, it's 231, so we have there's a 3-foot difference, roughly about a 3-foot difference there. Or 2.5, I guess, it's 231 and a half. Okay, just want to make sure I thought that through. All right, then the other thing that's always been something I don't like, but I did talk to Mr. Perrin about it, and I understand his recommendations, is, and maybe it'll never change, but I just still never really felt comfortable and still don't about the curb cut on Chestnut being so close to Shaker. I understand the other side of the coin, which is the issue with the rail trail, and I understand the safety issue that we're talking about. Maybe we're at the best location that we can pick regarding the 2 issues that we're dealing with on that. But just the same, I really wish it was further away from Shaker Road. That's going to be a real tough left-hand turn there at times. Other than that, I don't have any comments.
Just to review on that, Mr. Parent has, monitored that with Steve, and there are many issues, not just the site, it's the human engineering of turning right and wanting to keep away enough so that you have enough time to slow down and notice what's in front of you, and then the site elevations and the ability of the counts and the studies to say that, except for a very limited period of time, that intersection should be able to handle both of those both ways. So,
And I understand the grading issue. I mean, when you get get further west, the entrance and exit become even steeper, making it more difficult to maneuver. And certainly that's a concern also, but it's just unfortunate it is what it is.
And
I
it
really
also-
wish it were better.
well, we wish it was optimal.
But I wish it were a lot better,
Right.
but it is what it is.
We've tried to make it as optimal as possible, also taking into consideration the safety of the traffic inside the facility as well.
No, I understand.
All right, anything more before I open up the public? All right, I'm going to open up to the public at this time. Please state your name and address and direct your comments through the board. Is there anybody who'd like to speak?
I just have one question.
Do I have your name and address,
My
please?
name's Hayden Fife. I live at 255 Chestnut.
Okay.
And with the amount of traffic that's there right now, I see it every day. I see that trying to pull in and out of the Newland Florentina there. So I know it's going to be even harder to go on the other side.
Yeah,
Because we have so much traffic at a certain time during the day that's going back and forth to Connecticut and coming from Connecticut.
that's probably been one of the biggest sticking points here. We've looked at that a lot of different times, a lot of different ways. While we do realize that it's going to be an impact, there's going to be some penalties to pay, for lack of a better term. We tried to mitigate that as much as we can with some of the changes that have been made tonight.
Well, I'm just mentioning it.
No,
because
I know,
I
it's-
think more attention to that intersection, the lights, and maybe adding a lane.
And that's something that they may discuss in the future if it gets to the point where it cannot handle the impact of traffic, because there's 2 other corners there that may have businesses
Yeah.
in the future. So that's what the $25,000 for. If it gets to that point, that money will go into the rebuilding of that intersection along with town money, in order the 2 other businesses go on the opposing corners. So where I do appreciate your concern, we've taken that into consideration, spent a lot of time on that. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect site, so we're trying to make the best that we can with what we have. including, everybody's safety, traffic, and the applicant's ability to do business.
Because it narrows at that point coming from the center of our town.
Mhm.
Because we have that center lane, but that vanishes by the time you get to that point.
Yeah, and we are aware of that, and it's things that we discussed a lot.
I'm just.
Yep, no, I appreciate your comments, believe me.
Pointing it out again.
I'm glad there's somebody watching over our shoulder, but, yeah, we have discussed that in great depth. So, is there anybody else who would like to speak?
I would.
Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Lisa Mackey, 190 Chestnut Street. I don't understand
Lisa
how...
Mackey.
Lisa Mackey?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't understand how $25,000 would solve correcting that intersection.
It won't. It'll be a contribution to the intersection fund. It won't solve it. It'll just be a contribution. It's an act on their behalf to say, look, there could be an impact here. We're willing to put up some of our own money. If somebody else comes to develop those two other corners, we'll probably ask them for the same thing. The town is not completely, held harmless here, so it'll be in conjunction with the town's money, their money, if it's needed in the future. But it's a gesture on their part for goodwill going forward.
Right. So if you already have a number of concerns that just don't seem to be able to be resolved, and then you're going to add 2 more businesses at some point down the road, it seems like that will really exacerbate the number of concerns, won't it?
It will definitely, but you have to also realize the applicant has a right to be there. They pay taxes on land. It is their land.
I understand that.
And we have what the word I'm looking for?
Obligation.
Obligation, thank you. To the applicant as well as we do the town. We try to take all the circumstances, we try to find the best solution. Where we do have the ability to say no, it's very highly unlikely, but as long as we take everything into consideration, try to provide the best product for the town of East Long Meadow, that's what our job is, to try to achieve, without making the applicant jump through too many hoops that's unrealistic with the project and/or site.
So that when you already have someone saying that to avoid, collision, drivers might need to slow down before they even see that driveway or cars entering or exiting the driveway. And then the other man over here, the engineer, whoever he was, said that you're sort of at a borderline position of meeting the minimum distance, speed limit ratio, or whatever his terms were for that 340 feet. I mean, how do you solve that?
I want the engineer to answer that one.
This is Steve Ullman again, it technically meets legally what we need for the driveway. We need a minimum of 225 feet. We have 340. However, we don't want to make it worse than 340 feet, so we're going to make sure that there is no plantings in the way, no snow is left behind to block the site distance. This is the best we can do at this point.
Anything else?
Yeah, I do have a few more things.
Okay.
So that's, one side of the situation where the traffic is already pretty severe, even just trying to get out of like A.W. Brown's the other day to turn left, exit A.W. Brown's, I couldn't do it. I waited there until I had probably 5 or 6 cars behind me and then finally had to turn right. So this business doesn't even exist yet. But then the bigger issue to me really is the bike trail, because you know that there are children crossing that bike trail. The other day I was approaching it, I saw a family go out onto the road. They had 3 little kids with them on roller skates, and one of the kids fell. So this is just reality. You're going to have people on bikes and on roller skates falling in the street. And so you've got to be able to have that traffic not in a hurry to get through the intersection and not impatient and not just getting around the corner and now I've got to stop because somebody's exiting the gas station and now I've got to stop because there are pedestrians crossing. So I'm just expressing to you my really big concern about the safety of that area.
That's one of the concerns, again, shared by this board and the town departments. We spent a lot of time on that, trying to come up with the best scenario that would work in this instance and that site. So it is something that's been given a lot of consideration. We're not saying it's perfect. We're saying we're at that point where we don't think we can get any better after all the time and effort and input from all the people and/or boards. We're at a point where we just don't think we can get it any better and/or safer. That's why we've arrived at where we are today. I know it's, like I say, it's not perfect, but it's what we've come up with. Anything else?
Well, that'll be it.
All right. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Joe Moore, 226 Shaker Road. I was timing the traffic lights right now. I live right across the street from your proposed area. And it's green for 45 seconds, it's red for about 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's, I mean, it's constantly, when we moved in years back, cars would go by, but there was never a backup. For some reason, it's like, it's backed up till 3 days. I mean, it's just a constant from like 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, there's just a constant traffic without the business day. And you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but I mean, there's concerns have been being raised, and it's like, you're gonna, well, no matter what, we have to put this Ferris wheel here, that's all there is to it. There's a concern, and it's really not being addressed adequately, I think.
Okay. I think we did, correct me if I'm wrong, discuss it one of the roundtable meetings, timing, light timing. We now discuss that, and I think the consensus was, let's see how it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll try to address maybe timing light issues.
That was
But
the police suggestion.
that was a police suggestion. We haven't gotten there yet. We're waiting to see what the effect is going to be, how it's going to work, what changes are going to have to be made, and if those changes will have to be made, then that's something we'll have to look for in the future. But without the actual happenings right now, it's hard for us to tell. So again, if the timing on the lights needs to be changed, it's something we will look at and/or address. I hope that answers your question. Again, it's it's one of those things that's the best we can do right now. Is there anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Joy Roman, 144 Chestnut Street. In your presentation, you made a comment, benefit to the community. And could you just give me a little synopsis of what this project, how this is going to be a benefit to the community of East Long Meadow?
First of all, thank you for asking me that question. I was going to make a point that there is a collateral benefit to the traffic of East Long Meadow, and that Steve's analysis, and I think recognized by other people, is that this will relieve some of the traffic in the circle. Right now, if you're going to buy gas in East Long Meadow, everyone has to go to the circle if you're going to buy it in East Long Meadow. So here, this will relieve some of the congestion and traffic around the Rotary for the gas stations that are at the Rotary or north of there. Second of all, this is going to be an improved site. Ultimately, this is going to have a new, attractive, enhanced, valued facility on it, which will result in additional tax revenue to the town. Thirdly, we have gotten feedback from our due diligence in terms of people in the community welcoming a facility that is going to be open, the hours that it's going to be open, so that they can obtain the goods that are going to be sold there and get gas, and that the people particularly who live on that general south side will not have to travel into town or out of town to another town to get their gas, and if they're leaving early in the morning going to the airport or going to work or wanting to gas up late at night before they leave on a trip the next morning, or if they need bread or milk to make lunches before going to bed, that they can have a place where they can do this. It will employ some additional people. That's going to be staffed 24 hours a day, and it will have that resulting impact on the community. So those are the various types of benefits that taking an empty parcel and improving it and providing a service which we believe that the town has, says is welcome, are community benefits.
I have a couple comments. I think the way it looks now, mowed and simple, is beautiful. But my other comment is I think it will create another, quote, Rotary in our town. As far as traffic jam and negotiating where you want to go, right, left, up the hill, down the hill, try to get into this man's driveway, making turns from businesses on Shaker Road, as was mentioned about not being able to make a left-hand turn, it's going to be a nightmare, My other question is this a done deal? Because everybody that I talked to before I came to this meeting has said it's a done deal.
And who was that? Who did you talk to?
I mean, these are comments from general people that I had a discussion with about this.
Well, that's why we're here tonight, is to discuss it.
I want to know what done deal means. I mean,
I'd like to know what that means too.
Have you decided?
We have not. You should ask
All right,
them. We
that's
are the
what
board
I
that makes that
want to know.
decision, and we have not made that decision.
That's what I want
So, you know, there's a lot of rumors, a lot of innuendo, a lot of gossip, but, you know, unfortunately, I can speak for myself. I have gotten phone calls. I've had people show up at my house. There has been a lot of interest. As far as a done deal, there's nothing of the sort. That will happen tonight, whether it passes, whether it doesn't pass. You know, there'll be more discussion.
So you have more, do you have more deliberation on it? or-
We were gonna continue tonight. Anything else? Anybody else would like, yes, ma'am?
Gail Moore, 226 Shake Road. I know, you want a gas station there, but considering all these comments of traffic and all this situation, you're trying to work around it and make it the best and work for everything. I know that, Dave says they want to develop the land, but what about something, you could do an office building where people come in at 9 in the morning and they stay there all day and they leave at 5 o'clock? You don't have all this in and out and back and forth and buying things and coming and, it's like, they have a right to develop the land, but does it have to be a gas station?
They have a gas station is entitled to go there by our zoning bylaws, which was created in 1962. So in 1962, they laid the ground rules for what can go where. And at that particular corner, a gas station is allowed. So they do have an obligation. Whoever owns a property can build whatever they want, as long as it fits within our bylaw. That proposed use fits within our bylaw. So they do have a right to build that gas station there. We have a right to make sure they do it in compliance with our regulations and as safely as possible. That's what our job is to do. I know that's not everybody's favorite answer, but unfortunately it is the answer. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Glenn Fish, 259 Chestnut. One subject I haven't heard mentioned yet, is there going to be a sufficient backup power system to keep this station open during power outages, round the clock, or however many hours open? Is there going to be a sufficient backup power system to run the pumps and, registers and make it a going business even though there's no power in the area?
All right, I'll let the applicant answer that question.
David?
That decision's not been made. That's a decision we're looking at for all of our sites. But obviously, generators are expensive, and then where do you put them? I gotta come back here and get it all scheduled out. I mean, we'd love to have them, but it's a question of the cost.
So I've got a generator in my house. I don't care about the cost. I want power and I want safety. And I would assume since none of the other stations in East Long Meadow even have a generator, and we're all out of gas when we had a power outage, the only place I had to go for get gas was over Riverdale Road in West Springfield. And I thought, well, if we're gonna put a new station in, maybe we should include that in the cost. It's really, I know it's some expense, but when you consider the whole cost of the project, it's not a great thing. It doesn't have to be a generator big enough to keep everything going. Just keep one pump or one pump file going and a cash register going so that, you can do business.
Yeah, I understand. That's up to the applicant. That doesn't fall under our purview. It's not our responsibility.
It's certainly something we would consider. We are considering it for all of our sites.
The little pump station across the street has one too, but sometimes that didn't exactly go when they wanted it to, and it's a problem with sewage then. So I thought I'd better ask.
Okay, anything else on your mind?
No.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I've heard everything.
Mary Ellen Fish, 259 Chestnut Street. A few weeks ago, the lights were out at the intersection. That gave us an idea of what's going to happen down there with all the increased traffic that's going to be turns, and people aren't going to understand who's going to turn when and everything. It was a nightmare.
Well, there was nothing to tell people on Chestnut Street what color the light was on Shaker Road. So we didn't know whether they had a red light or a yellow light. Come to find out, we had a red light and they had a yellow light, but we were thinking all four had a flashing red light. So I'd go and then they'd go and I'd stop and they'd stop and I'd go and I'd go and they'd go, they stop and I stop, and it was really bad. Somebody should have made some adjustment there somewhere or have an officer there for busy hours, but they didn't.
Okay, I'm sure the situation's been corrected though? Situation has since been corrected?
Yes, there must have been something wrong with the timer on the lights because they got one in a couple days later and put something in and then it seemed to work.
Oh, it was a part. I'm being told it was.
For a period, a couple of days.
All right, I'm being told it was a part that they had to, I'm assuming, order and/or get and install. So, to answer your question, I mean, breakdowns do happen. Again, it's.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with your station, but it was just an example of what a little extra busy would do or what a nightmare it can be, and it really was something to see.
Okay, point noted. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? All right, I'm gonna bring it back to board for further discussion. Todd, I'm gonna start with you this time. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think I'm good.
Mr. Kingston?
The only thing I'm going to say is I appreciate everyone's concerns about increased traffic and a change in that area. I will say that I drive through Westwood, Maple Shade, North Main Street almost every day. And I drive through Allen and Cooley at least once a week. Allen Cooley's got 4 gas stations on 4 corners. The Westwood corner with the gas station there has got 4 curb cuts, some of which are almost directly into the intersection, and somehow we manage it. I know that the traffic lights at North Main and Westwood Maple Shade are different in terms of the number of lanes and the number of the turning lights and so on. And when, I won't say if, but we'll say when, because this town is developing. The other 2, the industrial and the business zone corners there become developed. We would certainly try to get additional contributions from the folks that develop those corners so that we've got the resources to upgrade this intersection so it can handle what it's supposed to handle. I appreciate that people like that there's a park there now, basically, but you know, it's an industrial zone. Somebody could come in and put a factory there if they wanted to. There's a lot of things you can do in industrial zones. And I think that this is not a perfect application for that site, perhaps, but I think that given the value of that particular corner, given the traffic that goes by it, I'm not surprised that this is being proposed, and I think that the applicant has done a great deal to try to mitigate the impact on the traffic. So that's kind of where I am right now.
All right, thank you for that. Ralph?
A couple questions, if I can direct them to Mr. Parent, who's in the audience. If you don't mind, as far as the lights there, as one of the residents noted, recently they were out for what seemed like an eternity. I'm just curious, how old are the lights? Do they need to be updated? And, I mean, what type of cost are we looking at to update them?
The lights, as I understand it, were installed in 1987, and the control equipment that is in that controller out there was original equipment from 1987. When they failed, we did have to replace one of the primary components within that control system. It was about a $5,000 expense that we incurred to upgrade that with new equipment. You know, we're optimistic that that will continue to operate for the next 5 or 10 years without future failures. We did replace the primary component of that system. To sort of benchmark what a upgrade of a traffic signal might be, some people may be aware that the Maple Shade Elm Street intersection is going to be upgraded this year in addition to a full reconstruction of Elm Street. Similar to this location, we are looking to retain the existing light poles, but replace fully the span wires, the signal heads, the signal controllers, upgrade the underground conduit, etc., put in pedestrian lights that have now the state-of-the-art countdown lights, etc., upgrade the handicap access ramps at the intersection. That has a price tag of about $100,000 for it right now. That job is actually under design and going to be out to bid in the next month or so. And the work will be happening this summer. So, you know, if I was to crystal ball what today's number might be, it might be $100,000 to take down those lights, replace them with new lights, take down the controller, replace it with a new controller. It's also worth noting that the actual lights themselves have been upgraded over the last year. The original incandescent bulbs in the traffic heads have been replaced with LED lights right now. So those have very long lives. Those are 10+ year, if not longer lives. So, you know, if nothing else changes, that light could work perfectly fine for the next 10 years. But there may be a need to make some upgrades to it. For instance, we're looking to put in a left-hand turning lane, for instance, as you head south, or a left-hand turning lane as you might head east on Chestnut. That would require some modifications to that equipment. And that's one of the reasons we recommended that the planning board ask for some contribution from the developer towards future upgrades that haven't yet been defined, but we know there are some possibilities out there.
If we put in a left-hand turning lane, is there enough space right now for it with town-owned property without getting an easement?
I'll qualify it in that the design hasn't been done, but my overall feeling is there probably is within the existing right-of-way at that intersection. We might have to move the curb a little distance. As you might know, a number of people sneak by on the right-hand side right now, even though there isn't a dedicated right-hand turn lane. We actually would prefer to deter that, because that, you want people to stop, you want people to force them to stop at a right-hand turn, particularly with the bike path in front of them. So we would likely take what's close to a two-lane width, put in 2 lanes, one on the right-hand side that would be straight through, and on the left-hand side that would be a dedicated left-hand turn. That would make it much more difficult and unlikely that anybody would do what they're doing today, which is to take the unpermitted right-hand turn.
And I'm assuming the $25,000, if we decide to put in the left-hand turn, could go towards that. It's not just the lights, it's any upgrade of the intersection.
Yeah, the details of that are to be worked out, but my understanding right now is the contribution is to be dedicated to this intersection, but no specific purpose beyond that.
That's correct.
Mr. Mitchell.
Most of my concerns been discussed. I don't have anything else that I think that I need to talk about on that. The parking spot has been replaced in the corner there. The shrub bed was one of my concerns off to the corner there. I'd like to see that pushed back a little bit for snow and for visibility. Everything else pretty much touched base on already.
All right, a few things for clarification. The money's going to be held in escrow account. Is that what we're looking to do? We're still going to get a police report. I think it's going to probably mirror what's already been done, but we're still going to get it. Any decision we make tonight will be based upon having that. And the only other thing I would suggest and/or like to see is some kind of agreement that once this gets up and running, we find there is a problem, would the applicant be willing to come back to this board and say, look, this is not working, can we find a resolution? For safety, traffic, would your client be willing to discuss that or agree to that?
Well, it will be Mr. Shields and his client at that point, but a special permit will be, issued for the operation, and the site plan will be reviewed. If there's violations of the site review or special permit, then this board could require that the owner operator come in and say, we have this special permit, and it's not being fully complied with. I mean,
yeah, I'm not looking for anything like that. I'm assuming you guys are gonna do the job the way it's been explained to us. What I'm concerned about is if something does not work the way it's anticipated working, would you have a gentleman's agreement with this board that you will come back and we'll discuss something future that protects us?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd like that to have that in the record, so we get to the point where somebody...
To revisit.
If there is an issue in the future. For argument's sake, we all know this is not perfect. There is a chance that something could not work, even though we've put a lot of time and effort into it. We've had the best and brightest look at it. I just want to know that we're not stuck here, so if there is a problem with safety, with traffic, we say, all right, look, we thought this was going to work, it's not working, let's revisit it. So if it's right with you, I'd like to have that in the agreement.
Sounds like Mr. Shields and
Okay.
Mr. Ryan agree with that.
That would be fine.
And one of the
It's
first
in our-
things...
It's in our best interest
Exactly.
to have
Okay.
a safe operation. I think the record has shown that Belcher, in addition to Chalmers, has been willing to visit all of the issues that were addressed as being of concern and do our best to propose solutions or modifications to deal with those. And I would expect that process to, if it's deemed necessary by the board in the future because of safety issues, I would expect that we would be happy to come back and talk.
I appreciate that. Anything else?
Yes.
You want that?
Yeah, I do. I think that we need to have a written agreement with regard to the the 25,000. And I think that the board, as well as the developers, need to look at that, because I can't remember who on the board mentioned, but future developments of the other corners, thank you. I don't think that, because the owner is the same owner, I don't think they're going to be looking to additionally add money. If I'm wrong, correct. I just think that things need to be really specified so that everyone
Any monetary dollar is going to
understands.
address that one corner and that one corner only. So if the applicant owns the other two corners and other two businesses go there, we'll cover that bridge when we get there, cross that bridge.
Chalmers owns the other
Right.
corner.
Okay.
and we
That's
don't-
why
We
I'm-
don't control the other corner.
Right, the one.
And so.
The southwest corner.
The southwest
Yeah, it would be entity by
corner,
entity,
correct.
not owner by owner.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I think it would be, corner by corner. So if your applicant comes with us to another corner, we would probably ask for $25,000 for that corner as well. I don't think the $25,000.
And in fairness to Robin, we had said that this was the Chalmers contribution, so she's asking for clarification that. I think you've
Yep.
just given us that clarification. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss it at, it would be the other corner that we own, which is where the former dance studio
Mhm.
is a lot smaller.
Okay.
As far as acreage and then also commercial zoning, so.
All right, as far as tonight's going, the $25,000, in my humble opinion, should apply to this corner and this
It's
corner
one of that corner,
only.
right.
Next, correct.
Okay.
And
Everybody
so,
agree with that?
you want to, me to draw something up, or, okay, and I'll submit it to you and for town council to look at that
Okay.
says
I
that.
just think, yeah.
It's an
Yeah, that's- I
escrow,
agree.
to contribute to this escrow account managed by the town for this is
Right.
our contribution for that corner.
Okay.
Mhm.
Agreed.
For specific reasons.
For
so
specific
that- So
reasons.
that the money that
Intersection
they've given
improvements.
Correct.
is promised to them to be used for the same thing
Agreed.
too. Basically, like we did for 265 Benton Drive, for
Mm-hmm.
the corner of Maple Street, by Long Meadow, that area there. You did the same thing. We took money, and it's being held in escrow for mitigation of those lights too. But it's a specific agreement. I just think it's an important
I agree.
issue to make sure that you have buttoned down.
All right, does anybody else want anything before you?
Just for clarity now, the package of plans that we have, as far as you know at this point, because once you break ground, everything changes, but as far as you know at this point, this is the final plan.
Not those. Those.
Well, what's been?
Whatever official.
large rolls.
Yes.
Whatever
Right.
official role we
Those over
have
there,
is
right.
is the final plan.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And you fully understand that if there's any significant changes to that, okay, that you're gonna have to come back with a new plan to us,
We fully understand that.
okay, before the work is done, okay? Just wanna make that point clear. I know you guys are top-notch, but we've run into this too many times before, where we approve a plan and somebody changes it on the fly. So, for the record, this is the final plan.
And we also understand what we say on there, we're gonna do on there.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One quick question just popped into my mind. The soil that we had talked about, there's no contaminated soil, there's just soil that doesn't drain as well. So by moving it, it's not like you're taking oil-tainted soil and moving it to another location so you don't have to remove it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Anybody want to say anything else before we close public hearing?
We have all the input that we need, all the town boards.
Other than the police department,
Other than
we'll
the
get
police
it.
department.
I think it's going to be very similar to what we've already gotten from them, because the changes that have been made since our last roundtable are
Yeah.
very minimal. So, again, if Three Phase come back and says absolutely will not work,
Okay, just to clarify, if we close the public hearing, can we accept the new police report?
No.
And we can't close the public hearing.
Just like the last time, you can't accept anything new. Rick hasn't had an opportunity. He wasn't working Friday, and we just received it.
Can we close the public hearing, hold the record open strictly to receive the police report?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
I will make a motion then to close the public hearing, but keep the record open only to accept the most current police report.
Perfect, okay.
I will second that motion.
I've got a motion made and second to close the public hearing. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
motion to approve the gas station as presented, subject to input from the police department.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I think the applicants have done everything that we've asked. They've adjusted the plans multiple times. Their traffic engineer has come back multiple times. Although I personally don't think it's a perfect site, I think what we've done with regards to the gas station is the best fit for that corner that we could do.
Okay, and we talked about the monetary contributions, we talked about the letter of agreement. If it doesn't go right, we're gonna readdress it. I think we've got everybody else's considerations, concerns. Aye? All right, got a motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Gentlemen, passed 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
20-day appeal period after, 20-day appeal period after I filed the special permit and the site plan approval. When do you want to have the agreement? All right, because the board meets again next Tuesday, so. All right. If you can get through to Jim Donovan before then, I mean, I'll try, but.
Then I will wait, because I just have one thing I want to bring up real quick.
I'll have the check ready.
Now, the appeal period is going to start now, not when the
No.
police comments
No,
are...
when I file I have to wait for Rick.
So you're not going to file until the police comments come in? Once you
But I
file, then
only have
appeal
10
period's going to
days.
start, right?
I only have 10 days.
Well, I understand, but you'll have these comments within 10 days.
I hope so.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Probably within a day or two, I would
As
guess.
soon as he gets it. When I file with the clerk's office.
All right, before we close, is there anybody who'd like to add any new information, comments and/or suggestions? Ralph, I'm gonna start with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I do have a question. Recently, we approved a waiver of site plan review for 50 Maple Court, and 50 Maple Court does not exist. I'm asking the board where we stand with something like that. We approved a waiver specific to an address, and the address doesn't exist, from what I understand, until a curb cut's approved and all for the backside of the lot. That doesn't exist. It's my thought that the waiver's no good, that he has to reapply with the correct address. And I just wonder where the board stands on it.
I think at the very least, the paperwork needs to be
Well,
resubmitted.
wait, before we go any further, when we had that hearing, I recused myself. Should I be recusing myself for this conversation as well, because it's the same applicant, or not?
I don't think you should recuse yourself from discussion. If we do any voting, I think you have to recuse
Okay,
yourself.
okay. I just want to make sure that was clear.
I think that's fair. I think the paperwork should be submitted properly, whether we do another hearing. I think it's still gonna be the same business, same place, same parameters, but however, paperwork should be correct.
My only feeling is that there already was a curb cut, there was a gate there, it was used by the previous business that was there. Okay, whether or not the Board of Public Works has assigned it an address, I don't know, but there is an entrance to the property at that site. And, if it's a matter of Frank Mirandi giving in an address to the fire department knows where to go, that's a public works issue.
For argument's sake, do we have a correct address for that property?
There is a plan that shows addresses all along Maple Court. The entranceway, according to DPW, that exists now is illegal. They just cut it out. They never got a curb cut. There is a number, but it's not 50. 50 was just pulled out of the air.
Because that property's existed for...
Was that?
Not that in though. It's 64 Maple Street
Right,
is
correct.
the actual address of that property.
Correct. Was that
Not-
curb? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Not Maple Court. The actual address for
Is
that
Maple
property
Street.
is Maple Street, 64 Maple Street.
That being said, was that curb cut previous owner or this owner?
That I'm not sure. All I know
was
is
there
that
ever a curb there?
it was an illegal, they just put it in, they entered the public way all on their own without any permission from DPW.
Why do we use addresses instead of map and lot number? or parcel number?
Actually, we use both, but I think the addresses are the simplistic answer. But a lot of times on the permits, you're asked for that, map and plot number.
Yeah, because often addresses aren't always 100% accurate, but you're always accurate with a map and lot number.
Yeah, I think it just boils down to simplicity.
I agree with you, that the map and lot number is better, because we have numerous businesses in this town that have addresses that are not recorded with the plot number. For instance, every store in the Stop and Shop Plaza has a different number. Those numbers, on North Main Street, those numbers do not show up on the assessor's map.
No, we use the parcel ID as we do with 64 Maple Street. It's all the same parcel ID.
Right, but every time we've done a waiver of site plan review for Stop and Shop businesses associated with it, it's been, we've approved it for the number of the business.
Right, that's because the fire department needs an actual address for that business, so they know where to go, rather than just go to the Stop and Shop Plaza and have to
Right.
search for that business.
Right, but those addresses are not recorded on the assessor's map. I'm not sure whether those addresses are real or not, whether it's just a number that's assigned by the mall owner.
No, it's not assigned by the mall owner. They're in our GIS and they're in our Munis system.
When I type them into the town GIS on the internet, they don't show up.
On the intranet,
Internet, they don't show up.
which GIS, on our GIS?
No,
there's
not
two
on the
separate-
internal GIS, on the one that is made available to the public. They don't show up.
Oh, all right, well, that one I don't know about, because I don't
Okay,
use that
so
one.
all I'm saying is that it's not,
But this particular parcel has the same parcel ID for 64 Maple
Yeah.
Street. It's all one parcel.
and Stop and Shop is all one parcel
Mhm.
with
But they have
with
different
different addresses
Correct.
associated with the parcel. So I don't see the big deal of having two addresses associated with this parcel when there are two entrances.
My problem is there's only one address, there's only one correct address for that, and that's 64 Maple.
Because I think there's only one entrance.
Right, is that curb cut, was that allowed pre-existing, say, non-conforming?
There's no curb there.
There's no curb line on this one.
Well, but they use it as a curb cut, you know what I'm saying?
But they can enter and access the property any way they see fit, because it's basically accessible on all sides at all points. So whether they put it here, here, or here, the whole thing is accessible.
Okay.
So I think, however, I think the paperwork at the very least should be clarified so the business actually is representative of the number that's on the application.
That's fine. I just,
64 Maple.
when
Correct.
Community Feed was there, you could drive into the back Community Feed
And out.
from Maple Court.
Yeah, no, you can't. My only problem with having a specific is that the parcel itself is not carved out. So if you're going to use Maple Court as an address, you should have an A&R and carve out the parcel that's associated with that, because it's all one parcel. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but I disagree with you.
So how can you have two addresses for the same parcel
Stop and
ID?
Shop has 10 addresses for the same parcel.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
They do. The Bulldog
There's different
Mall has
businesses,
6
though.
addresses
If
for the same parcel.
They start cutting the land up, then they limit their possibility in the future. So if they have an address, it's on Maple Court, accessible on Maple Court, I'm good with that.
I think it should just be Maple Court, 64 Maple Court.
Right, I agree.
64 Maple.
Or, not Maple, I'm sorry, Maple Street.
Maple Street, that's
Should
what it
be
is
Maple
right
Street.
now.
That's it.
That's what it is right now.
If he
It's
comes
one
in and out
parcel.
of the other side, it's,
As long as what's on the application represents the actuality, and not fictional numbers on a.
Because I asked him specifically, are you going to be using Maple Street entrance? He said, no, we're using 50 Maple Court. It's 50 Maple Court. There's a fence up. You cannot come out on Maple Street.
Then it should be 50 Maple Court.
no, there's no such address.
There is no such address.
64 Maple Street.
I thought I was just told it was.
No.
No.
64 Maple
Doesn't
Court.
exist.
No, it doesn't
All right,
exist.
then I was a little confused. I
There's a
apologize.
plan. DPW has a plan that starts at Maple Court, where Maple Court intersects with Shaker Road.
Okay.
And there's specific addresses for all the business area, all the lots, parcels that are along Maple Court out to Maple Street. There's no such number as 50. It only goes as high as, I think, 47, which is the intersection of Shaker Road and Maple Court. So that, but I can give you the the actual numbers for the individual parcels that I received from DPW.
So why don't we look
I
at it
think-
before we?
But even if you ask Jay, he'll tell you, because he's the one that said it. He just pulled 50. He liked the number 50, so he pulled that out of the air. I mean, and he's the one that said that. So
Well,
I think
we can rewrite the waiver to be for whatever address is appropriate.
Yeah, I'd like to look at the plan. I mean, I see your point with the A&R.
See what I'm
I do
saying?
I do see that, but at the same token, I can see giving one address but taking another away. So for argument's sake, if something goes back on the Maple Street, then we can add that address. Because right now, if the fire department has to go there, they need to know where they're going. Because if they go in the Maple Street entrance, they're not, in essence, gonna be able to get to the other.
You're not going to get in the Maple
Yeah,
Street.
but
entrance.
you're,
But it's not-
you're making a whole new address.
Right. That's what I'm.
So I could split up my property and have 4 different
right,
addresses.
yeah.
Yeah, but his
This
address is on, in fact, 2 streets. I'm just, if a fire truck's gotta go somewhere, they need to know where to go. And I don't, can you get from the front to the back property, or is there a fence?
There's a fence
That's
across.
all right.
There's a fence across, actually,
So
there's
for them
a
to
fence around the
run that
entire
business on
back
Maple Court, I
property.
think they should have a Maple Court address.
They need something because to store mulch too is very dangerous, and the fire department is concerned as to how to get to this. They have to have, the reverse 911 information. So it needs the right address. So if an alarm goes up, they know where to go. That's
So the appropriate thing to do would be for
That's
Mr.
basically
Lefebvre
it.
to apply to DPW for an address,
and he was told that.
okay?
Apparently DPW called him and told him, and he
when
hasn't
we
done it.
get that address, we can amend the waiver.
He can amend it.
Well, he can
I
apply
don't
for
want-
it.
Well, he can
Yeah.
request for us to
Right.
amend it.
So
Okay.
what does the board want me to do with regard to what your decision was for 50
Let's-
Maple Street?
Let's get the new address from DPW, or at the very least get a letter to Mr. Lefebvre. This is what we're looking to do. We're gonna get a new address from DPW because the business is representative of Maple Court.
Mhm.
And we want the address to be representative as that as well. So if a Maple Street, for argument's sake, if he does split that up, there will become 2 new addresses.
Right.
Well, then he's going to need an A&R too, right?
Correct.
Right.
Right, we'll go one thing at a time
But
here.
one thing at a time.
Right.
A correct address for the property so
Yeah,
that,
correct address is the important.
Yep.
As I said, we have multiple
right.
instances where the single parcel has more than one address.
I don't think that should ever be the case, even though I know we have it. For an example, Stop and Shop, I think it should be map and lot number, one major address for all of Stop and Shop, and then it's unit 1, unit
Suite
2,
one,
unit
suite
3,
two,
unit
suite
4.
Exactly, and
Which
that's-
are unit numbers within that
Right.
address.
But that's not the way it is today.
No, I understand it's not,
That's the
right.
way it has been determined, I'd say 6 years ago. The town changed that so that we have.
The way it is now?
No, the way you're talking.
Okay.
Units.
Makes more
different,
sense.
Benton Drive that has one building like Stop and Shop with different.
Yeah.
It has unit 1, unit 2, absolutely.
I mean, it's one
But they
lot
decided
with lots
to
of
do
different
that.
divisions within that lot.
Yeah, Stop and Shop is a horrific, the police department, the fire department has a terrible time with them, especially with all the businesses moving in and out all the time, and the numbers that do exist there. It is, you're right, I mean, it's a horrific situation there.
But it seems like for the purposes of planning board making decisions, I think we should always go by the legal description, which is the map and lot number.
I agree. And then-
Yeah, it was a mistake was made.
And then it's up to the applicant to worry about addresses with DPW and fire department.
Right.
Yeah, because if he created an A&R there, he would have a new parcel ID. It wouldn't be the parcel ID for 64 Maple, because it's all one parcel
It's
ID.
not gonna A&R that until he has a plan.
Right.
He's not gonna
Yeah.
do an A&R because he eventually wants to have the whole property built in one thing. This is just stopgap measure.
But in the
So-
meantime, if we can
Yep,
send a
we'll try to
letter and
rectify that.
have it straightened out.
I'll do a letter and send it to you so that you can see what I have to say.
Anything else?
I do, I copied you all on the email with Mr. Passat from
No, my computer's
Fenway. All right.
gone south.
Oh, I shouldn't read that whole thing.
And by the way, the Richards he's referring to is not me.
Yes.
No, it's not. We've had a lot of problems with Fenway Lane and if you remember, the detention basin as you come into Fenway Lane. The parcel 1 is from Allen Street up to where the house is built now.
On the left.
Yes, on the left, and it's inclusive of the entire detention basin with the fence area. Mr. Passat lives in, I'll say Lot 1, I'm not sure what the address is. He was very concerned about having the gate where his children could access it. He took it upon himself because there's an issue between him and Mr. Richards, and he moved the gate to a different area that's farther away from his house so that the machinery that goes in to clean the detention basin is far enough away from his home. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, forever. I asked DPW to go out and inspect to see whether or not where the gate on this detention basin actually is and whether or not it meets the requirements for maintenance. I sent Mr. Prasad an email, one of the emails, on Friday the 25th, and I said I requested that someone from DPW inspect the detention basin once again. Franklin Morandi did inspect the detention basin with regard to the location of the gate. Upon his inspection, he determined that the gate as positioned meets the requirements for access to the basin for all required maintenance. Therefore, in order to end this dilemma, I will ask the planning board to review and recommend, even though you moved the gate without approval from the board, I will ask that they approve the gate location as it presently exists, as it meets the requirements for maintenance.
Do you have a picture or a position where it's at?
No, I do not.
Who owns the
I can
land that
get
the gate's on?
Mr. Prasad.
Oh, he does, okay.
First and foremost, I think it's a civil matter between the applicant and Mr. Richards. I don't know how the deed is written, I don't know how the detention basin agreement is written, because obviously the detention basin is on his property.
It's on his property, but it's on the approved plan that the planning board approved.
The gate is.
The whole detention basin. I do have to say that I could not find the location for the gate on the approved plan.
Well, so the homeowner took it upon himself to move the gate, and Charlie Richards cares or doesn't care?
I haven't heard from him on that.
He doesn't care. Okay, I'd like to know that though. I'd like to know that Charlie doesn't care. DPW's happy that I'm in favor of moving it to protect kids, as long as everybody has the access. But I just want to make sure we have the wishes of Charlie Richards, because in fact, I want to make sure it meets the agreement that the two of them have agreed to. Charlie Richards, the developer, and Mr. Prasad, the actual homeowner.
Yeah, but if he sold it, it's not his anymore anyways, he has no say in it, correct?
The town still has the bond money, so I think Charlie still has, I would say, some say in the matter.
Okay.
You know,
That was
because
taken,
what
sorry.
Charlie put forth to us is what we need to keep in fact, keep the approvals going with. So if this guy moves it, now the approvals has to change. So I don't have a problem changing the approval. I just want to make sure that Charlie Richards is okay with it, because in fact, it's still his bond money that's being held.
I'm sorry, I thought it was taken.
Is that,
No.
And,
that make sense to everybody?
I mean, if, as a planning board, if we determine that the location of the gate, as it sits now, as it's been moved, is adequate, I don't see, I mean, that wouldn't affect his bond money at all.
And maybe not, but he still has some say of what happens with that road.
Yeah, he still has final say in the road. I hate to say it, but it does.
I had come before the board a year or so ago and asked if, because Mr. Prasad had asked if the fence could be moved, if you
I do
remember.
Right.
And the board said that you didn't have a problem with it being moved closer
Right
to
to
the lip
Yep.
of the detention basin,
To make
so
it-
that it was further away from Mr. Prasad's house. However, Mr. Richards would have to provide the plan showing the change. That hasn't happened. Mr. Richards did not want to invest in...
And he didn't have to by right, because he had
Correct.
done, he had done
He
what
had
he
the
asked, so the
approved
homeowner took it
plan.
upon himself.
Mhm, mhm.
All right,
So
so,
on that plan, that original plan, you said there's no gate.
No. I can't find one. I can bring the plan in and see if you can find one, but I looked, I asked Bob to look, he couldn't find one either.
So with that being said, who knows where the gate was supposed to be to begin with?
Well, there is
so-
an easement. There is an easement that runs right alongside where Mr. Prasad's house is to the detention basin for maintenance purposes.
Oh, wait a minute. Does that gate line up with the easement? It does?
Not now.
Oh, well, that's
The gate has
a
been-
problem right there.
The
yeah,
gate has
DPW
been,
still says it's accessible.
yes. The
Yeah,
gate
but
has
then the
been moved
easement
down.
needs to be moved. Because, legally,
Well-
Oh.
because now you've got an
Well,
easement that
there's
doesn't
an
go to a
easement
gate,
all the
which
way
means-
around, there's an easement all the way around the detention basin.
Okay, well, if there's an access easement that goes from the public way to the relocated gate, then that's not an issue.
have a problem.
Yeah, ties right to him now. You
What's
can't
that?
cross public. You
No,
can't
no,
cross-
you're not. What it is an easement going to the detention basin, and then there's one going all the way around.
There's one, yeah.
So you come
Right.
off of the
So it
road
doesn't matter
here,
where the
you
gate
come
is,
up
there's
to
an
the
easement that
bench, and then
satisfies
you
that
can
gate.
go all the way
Yeah.
around.
Okay.
Yeah, all the way around the perimeter.
It goes all the way around.
Right, so.
And according to DPW, a machine can get, the elevations are proper. I don't know
Right, so
really know
DPW
a
is
lot
satisfied
about
with
it.
where the gate is, the homeowner's satisfied, we just gotta make sure Charlie Richards is satisfied,
Right.
then we can all sign off on it.
Okay.
That fair?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Fair.
Let's get a letter to Charlie or a phone call, something stipulating that he's happy with what's been done.
One more item, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Taping for town meeting. Who's gonna do it?
What do we,
Who's going to be presenting these articles?
Well, we don't have to decide who's gonna present the articles yet, because we have another meeting before town meeting, but we do need to do the taping. And somebody needs to show up, and that's next Monday, I believe.
Ralph, George.
next Monday, I will be out of town. I will be in Holland, so I'm not gonna.
We have 9 warrant articles. 9 warrant articles, not including the 4 street takings, which I'm not sure that the street takings are gonna happen after DPW's response. I know.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yep.
Well,
It's that way for all 4 of them.
I'm willing to do some of them. I'm hoping somebody else will show up and help me.
What time is the taping?
It's
6:30. When you mean taping, you talking video or audio?
Video.
Video.
Yes.
And
when we mean we tape, you mean we actually run the camera?
No. Don does it.
What's up with
Jim,
that?
Jim Shields does the
Okay, you-
prelim to let the public know what's going to be on.
So you're talking about doing the
tape.
tape, you're talking about doing the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a photographer,
No,
or
no,
a
no, no.
videographer.
No, you have to be
But we
an
do
anchorman.
have, we do have.
An
9
anchorman?
Yeah.
You're great, you look like a perfect anchorman, George.
We do have.
I'll help
9.
you out, I'll help you out.
Okay.
I'm around next Monday, or I can be around,
Okay.
whatever I need to do, let me know.
We'll divide it up. They show up, they do it at the studios, which is in the back of the high school.
Do you have the copies of the warrant articles?
Wait a minute, they do it in the studios?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Do you want me to explain?
It's not much different than this.
Yes.
Jim Shields asks everybody who has a warrant article, boards or petition warrant articles, he tapes this program prior to every town meeting,
Okay,
that about a week or so ahead,
okay.
to give the public a chance to understand what is the warrant article about. So you're just gonna go in, he's gonna say, Ty Richards is here on Article 16, what's it about? You explain what it's about, that's it.
Okay, I'll work with you, George.
Yeah, yeah. It's really simple. You go in, you say, okay, this article is about medical marijuana dispensaries. We set it up because we're not allowed to disallow them, therefore we need to control them, and the key part is 500 feet from whatever,
No, so could you just give me some advance notice so I can prepare
That's one done.
Yeah.
my bullet points?
Well,
Ralph, you need to do the.
Robin, if you can make sure that Ty and I both have the final.
Which ones do you want to do? That's what I need to know. Ralph, are you going to do the home office?
Yep. I would be more than happy to show up and help out.
All right, then what I will do, if you can give me what you're going to do, then I will email all of you those specific articles so that there's no confusion. So Ralph, you're going to do the home office.
But Robin, you're talking about at town meeting, and they're still talking about.
No, we're talking about.
No,
the
I'm
taping.
talking about with Jim Shields.
The taping.
So they're all gonna come on Monday?
Uh-huh.
The 3 of us will be there.
Ralph is.
3 of
All
us
right.
are.
All right, Ralph, what else do you want to do?
Nothing.
I'll do
What
the
else?
medical marijuana.
Which one?
How many do we have?
We have, hold on just a minute.
They're all the same. They're all related.
They're all related.
We have the medical marijuana dispensaries.
Yeah.
We have the special permit for the medical marijuana. We have the,
Parking? The tables.
The table.
no, I'm still thinking about the medical marijuana.
Yeah, definitions.
Definitions. So there's 3 full warrant articles plus 2 tables.
Right.
But I don't think you need to do the tables. That just basically puts in a table what the
Well, I'll do all of
talking
them. I'll
is.
do all of
You'll
them.
do all the medical marijuana.
Yeah, I'll do all of them. Just
George.
make sure I
All
have the
medical
final
marijuana.
wording, so I know what I'm talking about?
I'll send them to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Because they're all related, I mean, it's all the same thing, they just have to be just separate articles
Oh,
because they're
smoking
different
pot.
parts of the
Right.
bylaw.
Right.
Okay.
All right, now we have commuter parking.
Okay, I guess I'll do that.
Okay.
I've done that.
Whoop, do we have a volunteer? Sandro said he would be happy to do it.
That one's easy, I'll do that one.
All right, you'll do that one. Wonderful.
Okay.
It's too easy
That's
to
4
have to do
members.
it.
How do you like that? I'm
All
looking for the
right.
easiest one on the list,
I know.
and already
All
it
right.
gets swiped
Tide,
from
This is for the taping.
That's what
You're
we get
gonna
when
do
you
the,
have
all
no
right, you're
seniority
gonna do the
whatsoever.
home
Next
office
Monday.
compute,
Just give me anything you want to give me. It doesn't matter. I'll make it
oh, I'm
work.
trying to, all right, so there's,
We'll be here all night long trying to figure
all
out
right, I
who's gonna
can't,
do what.
I'm trying to remember what the
Doesn't
other
matter.
ones are.
Just wherever my email says, I'll say,
Email us
okay, that's what I'm
and we'll-
doing then.
We'll get it done, okay?
Yeah, we'll
It
make
looks
that.
better if you've got 4 members there than if you used to have one face, you know,
Jim
pretending to
Shoes
be the
isn't gonna
entire
know what to
board.
do.
Because I've done that, and it's much better if you have several
You
different
guys,
people.
now you made the commitment.
Yeah.
You have to be there, okay.
6:30 next Monday, okay?
6:30, okay, 6:30.
Are they on for 6:30 or?
I don't know if Jim has the schedule.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the final
Send
schedule.
us the final
too.
time,
Yeah.
because I'm also gonna have to do community preservation that night, so.
Go ahead, buddy.
All right, anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.